Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for February 25th, 2025. Oh, look at that. 225.25, everybody. I didn't realize that until right now. Yes, I get excited about little things, and that was one of them, apparently. Hope you have enjoyed the afternoon here on 97.3 The Fan. Thank you to Sammy Lev for filling in. He's going to be back with me tomorrow. Thank you to Tony. Thank you to everyone for joining us. And now we get to have the real fun on the Skraby Show. If you would like to watch, you can just go to YouTube. You can search The Skraby Show, or you can search 97.3 The Fan. You can also go to Twitch, 97.3 The Fan. My X page is also broadcasting at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. And you can also go to Facebook as well. So you can watch, you can comment, you can do a lot of things on YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. And make sure you check it out. See what I look like, I guess. I don't know. If you've never seen what I look like, go to YouTube, search Matt Skraby or Skraby Show, or search 97.3 The Fan. You'll be able to find out what I look like. You know, people sometimes say, this is what I actually get from people. You're not as fat as I thought you were. And I think they're saying it in a nice way. But at the same time, it's like, thank you for that. Yeah, do I sound like I'm fat on the radio? I don't know. That's what I always ask them. But people are just being nice. They're not like actually calling me that. But anyway, if you've never seen what I look like, you can see me on YouTube. We've had kind of a crazy show all over the place, kind of crazy afternoon all over the place. Padres, if you're just tuning in, don't know anything about what happened today in the spring training game, the Padres ended up losing to the Angels today. Now, there were some good things to take from today's game, and there were some not so good things to take from today's game. But as we talked about during Quinn and Chris, this is the time for you to make mistakes, and this is the time for the Padres to absolutely allow their players to make mistakes. But if we're going to talk about the good, let's talk about Stephen Kolek. He went 2 innings today in his first start in spring training. He gave up 2 hits, and he struck out 2. Adrian Morejon went inning. He did not give up a hit. He did not give up anything in the game. Yuki Matsui walked a batter, but he went an inning, did not give up a hit. Let's see. The rest of the guys, honestly, I don't know that we're going to be talking about them much, but Higginbottom, he pitched 2/3. He ends up getting the loss. He was tagged for 2 earned runs in the 8th inning. So that is what happened. The Angels go on to win 2-1. Padres fall to 2-3 on the season, which is very disappointing to me in the Cactus League Championship series, or march towards the Cactus League Championship. A couple years ago, if you don't know why I'm joking about this, like 3 or 4 years ago, the Padres were really good in spring training. I think they won the Cactus League Championship. So I said, this is going to bode well for the season. And I think they actually missed the playoffs that season too. So I guess what, people have been telling me for years, that spring training doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't really matter. I do think it matters, though. It matters for a lot of guys. Maybe not the Manny Machados of the world. Maybe not the Luis Arises of the world. But I do think it matters for a lot of guys. And today, if we're going to talk about someone who had a tough day, it would be Brandon Lockridge. He is kind of like the base running specialist for the Padres. He got a hit today and he walked, but he was picked off twice today. So he was at least on the base path. He gets himself on the bases and then he gets himself picked off. And we talked about the one play where he went from first to third, which he used his speed to take third, and he got in there in time. But then there was a line drive. I can't remember who caught it. I think maybe the first baseman caught it. There was a line drive right at the first baseman. So Lockridge was just off the bag at third. First baseman catches the ball and then throws it back to third, doubles him up. So that was one mistake in the field. And also Brandon Lockridge was caught stealing. I think it was, what inning was that? It was in the middle innings. It doesn't say, but he was caught stealing today. So not a great day for Brandon Lockridge on the bases, but I think he'll be fine. And we saw what he could do a little bit last year. Tirso Ornelas went 1 for 2 today, so he's still collecting hits. Manny Machado went 1 for 2 today. He's collecting hits. He's also hitting the ball very, very, very hard. I wrote these down earlier. Let me go back to them. Manny today, 103.1 mile an hour double off the wall. Or no, not off the wall, but double. 103.1 yesterday off the bat. 97.6 mile an hour fly out earlier in spring training. And then on Friday, when he hit his home run in the first pitch of spring training, 108.6 miles an hour off the bat. So this is looking good for Manny Machado. We've been saying this. I just hope it continues. I'm pretty sure it will continue because it seems like Manny has been hitting he's been tearing the cover off the ball. I think I might be somewhat dyslexic with words. Is that a thing? Because sometimes I put one word in front of the other word before I say it. So anyway, I just wanted to ask that real quick. And if anybody knows, let me know in the chat. But Manny Machado is hitting the ball well. The Padres are, I can't say that they're killing spring training, but I'm feeling a lot better about the team after seeing this. And the Padres also made a signing today. They signed lefty Wes Benjamin, who was in the KBO. So AJ Preller seems to have a pretty good funnel into KBO, and he kind of knows who he's looking for. And he has some sort of market on the pitchers that used to pitch in Major League Baseball and had to end up going either over to Japan or the KBO. And that's exactly what Wes Benjamin did. He pitched for the Rangers early in his career, and then he went to the KBO. So they have a couple KBO guys. Kyle Hart, he had a backfield simulated game today. Tony said he was going to check on how Kyle Hart threw today. He's going to get us that information tomorrow. But we're starting again to see things come together a little bit, and it's just nice to see that before coming into the season, we were talking about the roster holes. It's nice to see that there aren't as many roster holes as we may have thought there were, and if left field is going to be the main place that we're looking this year. That's where mainly the position battles are going to be. And we went over it last night. Connor Joe, he's getting on base, maybe not getting hits, but he's getting walks. You also have Jackson Merrill just being amazing. You have what the Padres, what they have brewing right now kind of feels like the last year. Kind of feels like the end of last year. And the more I read from Jeff Sanders, Kevin Acee, Dennis Lin, AJ Cassavell, the more I read from these reporters, the more I'm realizing is that these guys really do have a mindset of unfinished business, which I love. Even though the team has changed a little bit, even though the team has changed a little bit, there's still pretty much the nucleus is still the same guys that played the Dodgers last year in the playoffs. So there is, I think, a team-wide, not animosity, but a team-wide, they're coming together so that they have a mission. There, finally, figured it out. They have a mission this year. They have a mission, and that would be to make it to the World Series. And I don't know that they can do that, but from what we're seeing and from what we're seeing out of the guys that are competing for a spot on this team, there is some room to smile about because there's so many of those guys. Eguy Rosario. I even titled the Skraby Show YouTube today, Eguy Rosario Fan Club. I am a huge Eguy Rosario fan, and he went 0-for-2 today, but still, he's been playing all over the place. He played some left field yesterday, played second base today. So there is Eguy Rosario is making himself available. I said it last night. The more positions you play in baseball, the more valuable you are to a team. And we're also seeing like the younger guys, the younger huge prospects, Ethan Salas and Leodalis DeVries. DeVries went 1-for-1 today. He scored a run. Ethan Salas, he walked. He went 0-for-1. But those guys are still kind of showing that they are coming into their own a little bit. And I don't, again, think that they're going to be part of the roster this year, but I definitely think they're maybe closer than we all originally thought Now, if they do make their debuts this year, that would mean that there's injury. So let's not hope for that. Let's not hope for them to make their debuts because that means something else bad happened. But we saw a lot of good stuff from Ethan Salas and DeVries in the last couple days. But other than that, Ornelas, like I said, doing well. Brett Sullivan, I think, is the guy that we need to talk about a little bit because Brett Sullivan, he's been one of the guys on this team for a very, very long time. And he has been up and down from the big leagues to AAA. And he's kept a really, really good attitude about it, I would have to say. And I can't think that's easy to be going up and down from the major leagues to AAA, blah, 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 blah. I think that would be tough. But here's where Brett Sullivan, I know that the ABS system is not going to be a part of baseball this year, but Brett Sullivan is one of the best challengers from last year's minor league games. He was 10 for 11 in challenges last year in the experimental automated ball and strike system. He said he would never really call out an umpire for this, but he did say that he feels like he umpires games sometimes because he's so good at the challenges. So, I mean, there is some value in a guy who kind of knows the strategy of automated balls and strikes. I'm not saying that he's going to get playing time because of it, but he's definitely going to get people are going to really ask him about what the strategy is, what he's seen, what he doesn't like to do. Just pick his brain a little bit about it. And he actually said that Brett Sullivan, that is, that he really doesn't like challenging in the early innings of the game because it can change your game so much. So he doesn't like, he said it feels like a lost opportunity when you challenge in the first, second, or third inning and you lose. So maybe that's something we don't see from the Padres. Maybe it has to be super egregious for the Padres to challenge early, but I don't think that I keep thinking that it's going to happen this year because it's going so well, but it's not going to happen this year. So I guess I really shouldn't spend much more time on it other than these little stories that we come about, because we're going to be seeing it next year for sure. 2026. Well, I guess I can't even say for sure. Let me start this over. Let's go back in time a little bit. We're not even going to see the automated balls and strike system this year, but it is looking like it's working, and it is looking like it's something that is going to work. The process is good. The flow is good. The length that it takes for these challenges is short. 17 seconds on average. That's not that much time. I'll give up 17 seconds for a challenge twice a game, but the challenge system, I need to remember, is not coming for this coming season. They should just do it though. They should just be like, you know what? We've seen enough. We like the challenge system. It's going to make things more exciting. We're actually going to change the time of the debut of the ABS system, and it's going to be this year. That's never going to happen, though, everybody. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it, so I should just get over it right now. You're listening to the Skraby Show here on 97.3 The Fan. On the other side, we'll talk about Roki Sasaki and what happened today. Yes, I understand, people, that it's just a backfield game or backfield simulated at bats, but still, it's nice to see a home run being smashed off of Roki Sasaki, first batter he sees in spring training. So I will not gloat about it, but I will be happy about it on the other side on 97.3 The Fan. That's Skraby back with you on 97.3 The Fan. I was thinking, have I ever heard this bed before? I guess I have, but I don't think I've ever played this song. Anyway, you're listening to The Skraby Show. You can watch on YouTube. You could watch on Facebook. You could watch on X at Matt Skraby. But when I went to break, I told you that Roki Sasaki let a Chicago White Sox prospect, the number 2 prospect, Kyle Teal, take him deep. And if you haven't seen the video yet, I put it up on the YouTube right now. It's not going to be, the sound doesn't really matter. Actually, the sound does matter. Listen to how hard Kyle Teal hits this ball off of Roki Sasaki. Sounds amazing. But Kyle Teal took Roki Sasaki deep in his first at bat against major league hitters, or I guess prospect hitters. So there you go. Things not going well for Roki Sasaki so far. And before people get mad at me, yes, I realize it is the backfield simulated games, because people were actually upset with me earlier, telling me that I was maybe dancing on a grave that's not dancing on a grave prematurely, which I'm not doing. But I'm not also a fan of Roki Sasaki choosing the Dodgers, so I will cheer against him. Nate says Tatis had a better sound off the bat. Did he play against Roki Sasaki? I don't think he did, but we'll see it this year. All right. We were talking about the Padres. We were talking about Roki Sasaki. But I think what we should talk about right now is how this year going into the season, I think everybody thought this year was stacked in a few directions, mainly stacked for one team, the Dodgers, and then the other team, the Mets. Both teams have spent a lot of money. Both teams are pretty good. Both teams went deep in the playoffs last year. And I have to, it's hard for me to remember sometimes that on paper, things don't always work out the way that they're supposed to during the season. We've seen it with super teams before. You get a team together, you think that they're just going to gel and they're going to go and win their championship. Well, it doesn't always happen that way. And I'm not going to say that the Dodgers are going to fold or anything like that, because that would be insane if the Dodgers folded this year, if they didn't have any major injury. But I do think the more, because I'm reading a lot about other opinions on the Dodgers in baseball, and I think a lot of these teams and a lot of these players are actually looking forward to playing the Dodgers this year, which makes sense. I think some of these guys are really looking forward to the Dodgers have a target on their back, and I think a lot of these teams are going to give it their all every single time they face them, and that's a good thing. That is a really good thing. I think that when you spend a lot of money, you're almost at a $400 million payroll. I think that motivates the rest of the league. Now, we'll see what happens, and we'll see if it makes any difference that it motivated the rest of the league. But I could really see these teams this year enjoy playing the Dodgers and enjoy trying to beat the Dodgers. And I'm going to enjoy watching it as well. It's a long season. There's going to be many ups and downs. But I truly think that the Padres matching up against the Dodgers, I think that they're going to get up a little bit more for that game rather than just treat it like another series. And they will treat it like another series, because that's kind of the mindset of the team. That's the philosophy of Mike Schill, to be taking everything one game at a time, taking what's in front of you. So I think that they'll go into this season with that mindset, but they're also going to relish a little bit the chance to take down the Dodgers and chance to take down the Mets. I'm not going to just say the Dodgers. I'm going to say both high-powered money teams. I'm looking forward to seeing all these teams give it their best shot all season long. It's not going to be easy for the Dodgers. The more I think about it, the more I realize it's just not going to be a season that they're just going to cruise through. Even if they do cruise, it's going to be stressful at times. They're going to lose, multiple games in a row. So we still have to play all the games, and this is how I'm talking myself into it. I really do believe, though, that Padres in a vacuum have the motivation to beat the Dodgers. Oscar, who is our, I guess, resident Dodgers fan in the chat, says, as a fan of my team, it's really cool when Padre fans show up and represent. It makes it fun. And I think Padres fans do that very well. And it is fun. It is fun. I mean, you don't want some sort of matchup between the Dodgers and the Padres like years and years and years ago where it really, really didn't matter. But now that you can look forward to these matchups throughout the season with the Padres and the Dodgers, it makes you look forward to the season. It makes you look forward to certain series. And I guess we're like a month away from opening day. And then the Padres don't actually play the Dodgers, I don't believe, until later in the season. It's very strange how the schedule was made, but I'm looking at the schedule over my shoulder, and it looks like they don't actually play the Dodgers until like second week of June. So there's going to be a long time before the Padres face them. But at least we'll see where both teams are at by then. By second week of June, we should know what's up with these teams. I think 100% that's, what is that? June, probably like 60, 70 games, maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, we'll have a good sample size for each team at that point in time. We'll see how each team are playing. Joe Musgrove even did some drills today. He wasn't throwing or anything like that, but there was some pitcher defensive drills, and so he was out there doing that. Joe's going to be around a lot, I have a feeling. I think that Joe is going to be someone who we're going to be seeing a lot of this year, and that's awesome because it's not easy to be around a team when you're injured and you're rehabbing and they're playing, but that's the kind of guy Joe is. And Joe's already out there doing work, doing defensive work. And he said that if there is a chance for him to come back at the end of the season, he's going to take that opportunity. If there's a chance for him to say, get back by playoff time, he's going to try and do that. He also said he's going to listen to his body. And if it doesn't seem like it's the right idea, then he's not going to do that. But Joe Musgrove is an incredibly important part of this team this year, even though he's not going to be pitching at all. I did say, if you're just tuning in, Padres signed a pitcher today, Wes Benjamin. So we'll see what's going on with him. He's a lefty. Buster Olney ranked Jackson Merrill as the number 2 center fielder in baseball behind Julio Rodriguez. And both Tony and Sam Levitt both said you can make the argument for Jackson Merrill to be number 1 over Julio Rodriguez. I guess you could make, if you're looking at the offensive numbers from last year, Jackson Merrill had a better offensive year than Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez is one of the best players in the league, but he also struggled mightily last year. I don't know what he ended up with in the end. He ended up with a 273 batting average, but he only hit 20 home runs and he only had 68 RBIs. So that's not something that they're used to production-wise from Julio Rodriguez. His OPS plus for last year was 116, which was the lowest of his career. In 2022, it was the highest at 147. But he hit 28 home runs that year. In 2023 was when he was his breaking out year. 275, 32 home runs, 103 RBIs, 37 stolen bases. But the Mariners struggled to hit last year. So for Julio Rodriguez, they end up with a 4.3 WAR and an OPS plus of 116 from where he was when the Padres saw him. That's pretty good, I have to say. But still, most of these stats are actually most of these rankings from Buster Olney are actually based on offensive numbers. And so when you're looking at the offensive numbers, when you're looking at them in a vacuum, you see that Jackson Merrill had a higher average. He had more home runs. He had more RBIs. So you can definitely make the argument that Jackson Merrill's the number 1 center fielder in baseball, which is insane to say. Because at this time last year, we didn't even know that Jackson Merrill was going to be a center fielder. And the way I know that is because I had this segment planned during Gwen and Chris, which I may just do on the other side because I like it. I've been thinking about doing this for a really, really long time, but I'm not sure if it works. But it's called This Date in Gwen and Chris History. And I go back through my certain docs, Google Docs, and on this day and see what we were talking about. So you know what? Maybe I'll test that out on the other side because there is some funny things that we talked about 1 year ago. There's also some, interesting memories from a couple years ago. So I'll go over those quickly when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. We'll also talk a little bit about what's going on with Justin Tucker. I don't like talking about it, but I think it's important. So we'll talk about that. And also, if I get to it, DoorDash is changing something that I had no idea was a thing, and it was very upsetting for me to find all of this out. So we got a lot more to go here on the Skraby Show. We'll be back shortly on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris.
Sorry, everybody, that took so long for me to get back to the show. I'm Matt Skraby. Appreciate you all being here with me. You can find us on YouTube, search The Skraby Show or 97.3 The Fan. Plus, you can also search through X at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRA, B as in boy, Y, and then Facebook 97.3 The Fan as well. The reason it took me so long to get back from break was because the whole paywall thing. Early daily gripe, everyone. Early daily gripe. Paywalls. I'm so over it. And I have a bunch of push notifications on my phone just so I don't miss anything. I mean, I have them from all sorts of news services because I never want to miss anything. And so I get these push notifications with certain articles that they're talking about. And so I always click it. And it's very annoying when I hit a paywall. Why are you going to advertise to me an article that I can't read unless I pay you for it? I mean, yes, they need to make money somehow, but there's some things that everything is just costs so much money to do anything in this world, people. To do anything in this world. But, these are first world problems, to be honest. These really are. And I have my ways of finding these articles. So I am not going to be worried about it whatsoever because I found it already. That's what took me so long though. All right. Let's see. We were talking about the Justin Tucker allegations. All right, we'll go into it. And the NFL is now investigating this. And this is what the general manager of the Ravens, Eric DeCosta, said today at the NFL Combine about Justin Tucker and about the number of allegations. Here is Eric DeCosta.
The allegations are serious, concerning. The amount of allegations are serious and concerning. I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can, and we'll make our decisions based on that.
So my question is, and I did a lot of researching today, and I didn't come up with any sort of definitive answer. But my question is, when I hear that, and when I read it this morning, why isn't the team doing an investigation? Why are they just waiting for the NFL to be done with their investigation? Now, it's in total 16 massage therapists from 8 high-end Baltimore area spas have made allegations of sexual misconduct against Tucker. And Tucker obviously is saying this is all fake and this is all just an extortion attempt and that he is not guilty of any of these things. And I'm going to do what I said earlier in the year and not make assumptions. But can we all live in a world where 16 people aren't going to come together to extort someone? This is where my mind goes. 1, 2, 3, I think maybe there is some sort of extortion going on. But 16 from 8 different Baltimore area spas have made these allegations. And again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But I'm more sad for our world if we can't assume that 16 people aren't going to come together to extort a kicker in the NFL. I just have to put myself in that mindset. It's weird to me that we could live in a world, and hey, this is totally possible. I'm not saying this isn't possible at all. It's totally possible. But I think that we need to maybe believe people who say these things in big groups rather than say that they're lying. And it didn't seem like the NFL was very concerned about this in the beginning. It doesn't seem like the Ravens were very concerned about it in the beginning. And now that more and more of these massage therapists are coming forward, now the Ravens have some sort of concern and serious concerns about these allegations. I would also like, if we're going to hold the 16 people accountable, I would also like to hold Justin Tucker a little bit accountable, within the Ravens organization. Like, I know that they've had conversations with him, and I know that they know that he says he didn't do it. And again, innocent until proven guilty. But why just wait for the league investigation? Why not do your own investigation? Why not kind of get ahead of things? And if it's really serious to you, why not get ahead of it? And why not, as the Ravens, have answers ready to go for the public? And maybe they have done this, and maybe they don't like what they're seeing, or maybe they're just really, maybe they're just trying to keep it quiet until things really blow up. I don't know. And Boat says, so you're saying he is guilty until proven innocent? No, that is not what I'm saying, because I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I just think that we have to be able to live in a world where we're not getting groups of people together to extort someone. And so I guess what I am saying is, when there's smoke, there's fire, but I don't necessarily know that the smoke is coming from Justin Tucker's house. There's some stuff going on in the chat that I'm not a fan of right now. I am a fan, but it's funny. I can't repeat it on the radio. I know we're talking about something serious, so I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit. But yeah, so there's the story. The Ravens are looking into it. The NFL is looking into it, and they're going to make a decision a little bit later once they have more information. So we will unfortunately have to keep updating you on that. If you read what happened, again, I hate that if he didn't do it, that these sort of things are out there, because I feel really bad for him if he wasn't doing this stuff and they are extorting him, because some of the stuff that is being written about him, some of the eyewitness reports, are pretty disgusting. So I really I don't hope for anything other than that this resolves itself in a way that helps the people that it needs to help. All right. I have dodged all the landmines on that one. All right. So I told you earlier or last segment, that I wanted to try a new segment, and we didn't get to try it on Quinn and Chris. So I'm going to do it because I already went through it and I already wrote everything down. So I'm not going to waste it. But this is how it goes. Today, February 25th. So what I did was go back in time and see what we talked about on February 25th. So 1 year ago today, Eric Hosmer officially retired. Eric Hosmer officially retired 1 year ago today. And we all know how we feel, or some people feel, about Eric Hosmer here in San Diego. His podcast, though, Digging Deep, I believe it's called, is his podcast Digging Deep is actually, I'm just gonna say it, I like it. I think it's hilarious. I think that they have great stories. I think that, I don't know why Eric Hosmer wasn't more of a personality like he is in his podcast here in San Diego. I guarantee you, if he was the fun guy that we see in the podcast here in San Diego, he would have been a fan favorite. But he had Will Myers on the other day, and I'm about to play a clip from his podcast, and I think it's kind of funny, because Eric Hosmer starts out saying that Will Myers is much more loved by San Diego than he is.
Willie, obviously you are loved in San Diego a lot more than I am, but just in general, you're loved out there.
It's not easy to be the most powerful man in baseball at one time, Haas. It's okay.
That's right. You see Arenado use his no trade this year to not go somewhere. What a scumbag. Who would do that?
Who does that?
Who does that? Unbelievable.
See, I mean, self-deprecating humor is always going to win in my book, and that's what Eric Hosmer has been doing on his podcast. And I think it's funny that Will Myers, kind of knowing that he's a fan favorite, is laughing at Eric Hosmer. And then at the end, they talk about the trade because of Arenado. But back when Juan Soto was the whole Juan Soto thing was going down with him coming to the Padres. Eric Hosmer had a no trade clause in his contract, and he decided to exercise that no trade clause, so he didn't get to go, or so he didn't have to be sent to Washington and play for the Nationals, which is totally his thing. But Eric Hosmer's right. Nolan Arenado has exercised his, by reports, Nolan Arenado has exercised his no trade clause many times this offseason to some of the different deals that some of the different deals that were out there. But I think that we got to maybe not blame Eric Hosmer for that whole trade thing that sent Luke Voit to the Nationals. I mean, Luke Voit's not even on a baseball team right now. He's not. So I think we can give Hos a little bit of a break. I know that people aren't going to really like that I just said that. But hey, self-deprecation wins every single time. Okay. See? Diesel says, I gotta say, it's pretty good. Hos is constantly giving himself bleep about how it ended in SD. He does. Okay. Next thing that we talked about 1 year ago today, the Diamondbacks threaten to move because they want the city to build them a new stadium. Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Diamondbacks, stood in front of the media 1 year ago today and told everyone, hey, we want a new stadium, and if you don't, there are plenty of places that will take our services as a baseball team, and so you guys better build us a stadium. Honestly, don't think anything's changed in the last year, but that was something we talked about 1 year ago today. Now, 2 years ago today, it's kind of bittersweet because there's a Peter Seidler sighting here in our Google Docs. But Peter Seidler, one of the things we were talking about 2 years ago was Manny Machado's contract. Peter Seidler discussed Manny's contract with the media at spring training, and he said, Manny is my top priority. And he didn't want to go into specifics, but he said, Manny is my top priority. And guess what? Manny Machado was his top priority. They got the deal done. There was no drama around it. And looking back on this, I think this is still the right move for the Padres. I think that Manny is obviously the guy of this team, and they needed him back. Did they pay him a lot of money? Yeah, they really, really paid a lot of money. But at the same time, I think that was just the going rate for Manny Machado. And Peter Seidler signing Manny was a smart thing. And so that was what we talked about 2 years ago, was the contract of Manny Machado at spring training. Remember, he opted out of his deal, and everybody was getting a little nervous that Manny was going to test free agency. Looking back now, or knowing what happened, that never happened, and we didn't really need to worry. But that was something we talked about 2 years ago. Also, the WBC was in full swing 2 years ago. Clayton Kershaw backed out. Here was the topic: Nick Martinez in the WBC. And our topic was, is this going to hurt Nick Martinez trying to start games for the Padres? Because remember that whole thing? He was trying to become a starter, a part of the rotation, because he had been someone who just fills in here and there, but he was stretching himself out to be a starter in spring training, and then he was going to be a reliever in the World Baseball Classic, and so he ended up being a reliever. In the end, Nick Martinez is now a Cincinnati Red. Nick Martinez was one of my favorite players on the Padres when he was here. He drank a ton of Red Bull, and he was just someone who was happy to play baseball. But I think it's funny, looking back at the topics of Nick Martinez, is it good for him that he's going to the WBC? Sometimes I think, man, what are we talking about? Also, we were making bets on XFL games 2 years ago, which XFL is no longer a thing. And the last thing from 2 years ago was hard-hitting news. And that was that Ha-Seong Kim changed the name on his jersey to H.S. Kim. So that was the hard-hitting news of 2 years ago. Maybe I'll start doing this more often. I mean, it can't happen every day because we don't really have good stuff to talk about every single day. But hey, it might be a little fun trip down memory lane.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Okay, I'm gonna go with this one because I wanted to talk about it. DoorDash is in trouble with something, but here's what they were doing. DoorDash, let me just read it straight from the article so I get it right. In a series of tweets Tuesday, CEO Tony Zhu said the company would overhaul its controversial tipping policy. Under the current rule, a tip left through DoorDash's app is used to meet the minimum payment promise to its delivery crew. That's prompted customers, workers, and advocacy groups to accuse DoorDash of using gratuities to underwrite drivers' paychecks. So a New York Times reporter tested this, and they set out as a food delivery person and was guaranteed for their first DoorDash order $6.85. A customer actually tipped $3 through the app, but the reporter only received the $6.85. The company in turn only paid from their pockets $3.85, and they used the $3 tip to actually make sure that they got to the $6.85 that they were due. So basically, DoorDash was using the tips that were given, and drivers thought, hey, we're going to be doing this. Drivers thought we're going to get $6.85 plus the tip. This driver should have got $9.85 for their delivery. But DoorDash was doing shady stuff, and they were taking the tip, and they were keeping the tip from the person, and they were taking it and putting it towards what they owed the DoorDasher, and then they don't have to pay as much to the DoorDasher. They're letting the tippers actually end up paying the bulk of what the DoorDashers are doing. I don't know if I explained that well, but they are changing the policy all of a sudden. All of a sudden, after people start figuring out what they're doing, they change the policy. They said, going forward, we're changing our model. The new model will ensure that Dashers' earnings will increase by the exact amount of customer tips on every order. We'll have specific details in the coming days. My thing, and here's the gripe, they wouldn't have done this unless someone said that. They would keep doing this until the end of time, but they were caught. All right, that's it for the Skraby Show. I am running out of time, so I will talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you for listening.